What's going on, Whisper Nation? Welcome into another episode of TFW Live. This is episode 341, where we're going to be going over all of the news and nuggets from around the NFL, helping you get ready for this weekend's action. We're going to be going through a little recap of yesterday's game and go through every single team's relevant news and notes, specifically related to their injury designations, as well as taking all of your questions, Whisper Nation. So send them my way. Calvin Brown here in the chat. What's up, Calvin? What's up, Albert? Calvin with a question already. Now, send them my way. I might not be able to get to them in live time, but I will get to all of them by the end of the show. So send them my way, and we will get them addressed. What's up, Whisper Nation? Full point PPR, Najee or Eno? Eno Benjamin looked really good last week. We've got Chase Edmonds, see Kim K coming in here. What's up, Lady V? Eno Benjamin looked really good. James Conner's already been ruled out. I like Najee, actually, with his foot plate removed. He's looking stronger. He's looking better. That offense, I think, is on the uptick in Pittsburgh, but it's not quite there yet. So I'm not going to give Najee the nod over Eno this week, who looked really good. I would be leaning Eno this week, but rest of season, I think I like Najee on this one. What's up, Lady V? Joining in. Great to have you. I know I owe you a response to your text message. Been a couple hectic days back to back, but looking forward to catching back up with you, and great to have you in the show with us today. Taking a look over at yesterday's action, some of the relevant news from some of the stats, I should say, from that game. Man, Baltimore now 5-3, the Buccaneers 3-5. Looking at some of the fantasy implications here. Lamar Jackson, he had an okay day for you. It wasn't amazing, but he had 26 points and 6-point passing touchdowns. You love to see it. 238 yards, a couple of tutties, 9 carries for 43 yards. And a couple of first downs, if you keep track of those. On the other side, Tom Brady, 325 yards passing, not bad on 44 attempts, 26 completions. He had just one touchdown, though. Did have a touchdown on the ground also to get some points up there for Tampa Bay. Kind of an underwhelming day. Kind of a tough week for Mr. TB12. We'll focus on the fantasy impacts, though, here. Much love and support going out to your family and everyone impacted by what we know the Brady household has got going on. Sticking with the Buccaneers, Leonard Fournette did the damn thing. Just 9 carries, 24 yards. You don't love that, but you do like seeing the touchdown. And 3 catches for another 34 yards. Not a bad day. Not horrible. That touchdown kind of saved it, though. On the other side of the ball, Kenyon Drake, man, the running back who will just not quit. I know that the Baltimore Ravens didn't hope to have him be the one scoring you lots of points week 8 of the NFL season, but here we are, and they got the dub for it. And if you started Drake like Easy Daddy did here in our Whisper Listener League, you're feeling good about it. He came down with 17.2 points in the Listener League scoring settings, 7 carries, 62 yards, a couple of first downs, caught all 4 of the targets his way, 5 yards, and he did get that touchdown, which really made the day kind of special. Gus Edwards was the back of choice for the Ravens and for your fantasy team more than likely, but he did get a knee injury. He did spend time on the sidelines. We'll be monitoring Gus Bus. Hope he comes back, because he looked good in his first 2 games. 11 carries yesterday for 65 yards, 4 first downs. You like that. On the receiving side of the ball, we know that Mark Andrews left the game with a shoulder injury. He was dealing with a knee injury coming into the game. Bateman also was not a part of this action after being excused really early on. He didn't catch his 1 target thrown his way. Duvernay, though, did make up some of that ground. 4 targets, 4 receptions, 31 yards. He had another couple of carries on the ground to get him 33 yards and a touchdown. Had a pretty good day fantasy-wise. So did Robinson. Former Chief, now in Baltimore black and purple, caught 6 targets out of 8, thrown his way for 64 yards. Those were the notable pass catchers. Prochet there had 3 for 4, 24 yards, not really making a big impact for your fantasy squad. On the other side of the rock, Tampa Bay, Mike Evans. You expected him to lead the way, and that's exactly what he did. 11 targets, 6 catches, 123 yards, 1, 2, 3, and 4 first downs for the Bucs. Godwin also involved, but was number 2. Same amount of targets, same amount of catches, 6 for 11, but 75 yards through the air. And then Julio Jones, he was active. He was in this game. I hope you didn't start him, though. Just 21 yards and a touchdown. Did get that touchdown. That's still nice. But if I see a receiver get a touchdown and still have a sub 10-point day, I'm not feeling awesome about it. In our league, our listener league here, you do get points for first downs, though. So he did have 10.1 in these scoring settings. But overall, 21 yards and 1 touchdown for Julio Jones will be an interesting name to monitor. If his health stays strong, if he can get back into it, Julio Jones could be an option at the wide receiver position down the road and maybe in the playoffs. It could be someone worth consideration. We'll see how Godwin and Evans and the rest of this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team progresses as the days get colder and the sunlight gets shorter. On the tight end side of the rock, with Mark Andrews going down early on, Isaiah Likely stepped in and he got it done. 77 yards, 6 catches, 7 targets. He had that touchdown as well. On the Tampa Bay side, Cade Otton was the number 1 tight end. No surprise there. And neither was the lack of strong performance. Just 15 yards, 2 catches, 5 targets. That went his way. Suckabout did Tucker at the kicking position, 10-8. All right. Well, let me know if you had anybody going in that matchup. I think you were probably happy outside of Mark Andrews' rosters. Big Travie, if you're listening in, I love you. I'm sorry. Mark Andrews, I know he is big invested in the tight end out of Baltimore in many leagues. We'll have to monitor Mark Andrews throughout the coming weeks to see how his recovery is. And Albert, great question here. ETN or Stevenson, full point PPR. I'm kind of connected to this one actually because I traded away a few weeks ago Ramondre Stevenson for ETN and a couple of other pieces. I'm actually leaning ETN on this, and here's why. Damian Harris is back, and I expected him to have a lower amount of opportunities his first game back from that thigh injury or hamstring injury because it's what they should do to manage that soft tissue issue Damian Harris has going on. So I expected to see Damian Harris having a reduced workload. I also expected Ramondre Stevenson to have an increased workload because I think he's the better of the 2 backs, but Damian Harris is still really, really good. So because of that reality, I think Stevenson's opportunity comes down a little bit. We could see him splitting carries at the goal line. I do think Ramondre Stevenson is a great back-end RB1, strong RB2 the rest of the way, but the ceiling for ETN is just higher. With James Robinson in New York now, ETN is presumably, I got to say presumably, because Michael Hasty is there, Stu Connor is there, Doug Peterson could do a lot of things. We can't pretend like we know exactly how these coaches are going to fill in vacated spots on the field. With that said, it makes a lot of connections to say ETN is about to have a massive workload, be involved early downs, 2-minute drills, goal line work. Jermichael Hasty looks to be a spellback. He's also not a specialist like a plotter or does anything better than Travis Etienne does. Now, Snoop Connor would be the interesting name to see if they get him involved in any goal line work, but so far he's been a complete non-factor for the Jaguars and for fantasy. ETN's also like leading the league in certain metrics, yards per contact, yards over expected yards. He's got a lot of really strong, deeper metrics, as well as just top-level metrics. Like the dude is averaging a lot of yards per carry. He's supposed to be a pass-catching specialist. We haven't seen that out of him, but I think we see his pass-catching chops get even better. I think this this Jacksonville, other Florida team, is low-key, like kind of dangerous. And I think their offense is a decent one for fantasy. I like Kirk. I love ETN. I even like Trevor Lawrence here moving forward. What's up? Kalaya, did I say that one right? Kalaya Jones here. Thanks for joining the show. Full point PPR. Pick one. Eno Benjamin, Najee Harris, or Darrell Henderson. We had Calvin Brown on the show asking about Najee or Eno as well. I went with Eno Benjamin this week. I like Najee Harris moving forward, but Eno Benjamin with James Conner out got a lot of opportunity, looked really good. I expect to see more of that. Najee Harris and this uptick Pittsburgh Steelers offense with Kenny Pickett behind center now, I like, but I'm not going to put Najee ahead of Eno, who actually really showed us some pop Darrell Henderson is someone to keep monitoring. I am going to keep monitoring it. Darrell Henderson, really, and everybody outside of Cooper Kupp on the Rams offense, to me, is in a temper expectations. And where I can go other routes, like at running back, I would on this one. So Darrell, you got him in this order for me here: Eno, Najee, Darrell Henderson. One more question here. Love it. Michael Gallup, Deontay Johnson, Van Jefferson. I'm going to go with Deontay Johnson, Michael Gallup, and then Van Jefferson. Same point stands on the Rams offense. Van Jefferson started to come back. Are we supposed to see him this week? We'll get to the news and notes here in just a second. I'll work through these updates, but I would go Deontay Johnson, Michael Gallup, and then Van Jefferson, barring health, which I know we've got a lot of people banged up, recovering from being banged up. But as of right now, with the information I got available, I'm going DJ, Gallup, Van Jefferson. All right, there we go. And speaking of those news and notes, let's go ahead and get it started here. Speaking of the Arizona Cardinals, they're at the top of the list. We're doing them in alphabetical order. Cliff Kingsbury. Oh, got to block this person. Hold on a second. There we go. All righty here. Eno Benjamin is going to benefit from Darrell Williams being a game day decision. He's questionable with the knee. James Conner is already out. Even if Williams is able to play, I don't think they're going to really be looking to him. He could siphon some touches, as they mentioned here. You'd like it better if he doesn't suit up. I'm liking Eno a lot more if he doesn't. You're not starting Darrell Williams, though, regardless. So this is really just an impact play towards Eno Benjamin. James Conner, again, is out. And we're not getting any news about any of the wide receivers out of Arizona. That's fine. So no news, I say, is good news. Going over to the Atlanta Falcons. Caleb Huntley returned to practice on Friday, missed Thursday with an illness. Seems to be ready to go this week. Not a big bit of news. Damian Byrd, irrelevant for your fantasy purposes outside of super deep leaves. So is Alameda. Here we go. Tyler Algier looking to be the one carrying the rock, but this whole Falcons offense just looks really disappointing. Anybody else going to be starting Kyle Pitts? I'm going to be playing Kyle Pitts in my league of record. I got David Njoku dealing with that high ankle. So it's going to be Pitts for me. I can't bring myself to drop Pitts. I don't recommend it. I am just hoping to see this. Well, I'm actually really hoping to see Desmond Ridder get the rock and get Marcus Mariota out of there, and maybe Arthur Smith too, but I don't think I can have a lot of hope in that later one. We already touched on the Baltimore Ravens. We'll move over now to the Buffalo Bills. I doubt they've got a lot of news for us. I haven't heard anything coming up. Yeah, no news out of Buffalo Bills camps. That is good news. Carolina Panthers, though, they sure have been active. Steve Wilks, head coach, filling in at least after Matt Rule, said running back Raheem Blackshear will see more playing time in Week 8. Chuba Hubbard's already been ruled out. That makes Blackshear the handcuff now, or the spell back for Deonta Foreman, who I think is a pretty nice play this week, actually. Deonta Foreman is a good running back who's going to get all the opportunity. He's looked good with the Titans last year. He looked good with the Panthers this year. I like this. A little bummed on Chuba Hubbard here. Well, let me read what they said here. He didn't practice all week after picking up the ankle injury last week. His absence positions Deonta Foreman as the Panthers lead back against the Falcons defense, giving up the 5th highest expected points added per rush this season. Yep. So they said about Hubbard that it wasn't a serious injury and he could have came back in the game, but then he doesn't practice all week. Either way, I'm just glad that they're not playing Hubbard. I am hoping Hubbard comes back and is a relevant fantasy piece for weeks ahead. He won't be, though, for this week. We certainly know that much. I like Foreman, though. I'm going to say it again. Fire him up if you got him. He's kind of like it feels safer to say a back-end RB2, RB3, but I think he's kind of a high-end RB2. We got Byron Pringle returning from the IR, designated to at least irrelevant for fantasy purposes outside of super deep leagues. Khalil Herbert is going to continue to get more involved in the offense. That just makes a lot of sense. David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert, I think, are both good running backs. Feed them both. Cole Kmet finally getting involved, but I don't think you should really be heavily involved in your fantasy team, at least not yet. Drafted him in a few leagues, dropped him quick. Moving on to the Cincinnati Bengals. Jamar Chase. Oh, my God. Pour one out. Ugh. Hopefully he gets better soon. Right in time for the playoffs. He's not going to be placed on the IR. This would sideline him for at least 4 weeks. Chase has a hairline hip fracture and a torn labrum. Jesus. An injury that comes with a 4 to 6 week timeline. Not going on IR suggests the Bengals think Chase can return before then. Put him on IR. Just put him on IR for 4 weeks. He's got a hairline fracture in his hip. That's super important for mobility. Just let the man heal. Give him an extra week on top of that. You should be able to get the damn thing done before without having Ja'Marr Chase. Monitor Ja'Marr Chase moving forward. It is good news, though, and I'm breathing some relief knowing that this hairline hip fracture is one that has a 4 to 6 week recovery timeline. So it sounds like he will be back some point this season. I guess there is good news to him not going on the IR. I just wish they were a little bit more cautious. And maybe they are. Maybe they're like, no, he's really okay. But the NFL doesn't give us a lot of reason to have confidence in that. What up, Jason? Do you think it's a bad idea to play a quarterback against the receivers you will be throwing to on the opposing team I'm playing? I have Cousins. He has Jefferson. I haven't seen any data on this. I don't think you really worry about it, right? Because it's like if, let's say that Jefferson ends up getting 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Well, then Christian Kirk had 3 touchdowns and at least 200 yards, right? And like that's not a bad day for you either. You should play the player you believe is going to net you the most amount of fantasy points because you can't play defense outside of waiver wire stuff against your opponent. So I wouldn't put too much stock into that. And you just keep your fingers crossed that it's a major Irv Smith and Adam Thielen day, but you don't try to play that. And if you got a quarterback who you think is going to put up more points, then that's what you do. There is, I guess, some logic on the other side of it. If you're kind of trying to play defense and like, let's say you're going up against Travis Kelce and you've got Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. It's like, well, I don't know how the data stacks out in that hypothetical, but I can understand the logic at least of somebody saying, I'm going to play Patrick Mahomes because all of Travis Kelce's yards would come through Patrick Mahomes. So at least I can keep up versus, you play Josh Allen, who you think is going to have a better day. He ends up having a really disappointing shit day. Meanwhile, the Chiefs, they soar and Travis Kelce has a great day along with Patrick Mahomes. So you could marry yourself and play some defense by keeping them together, but I don't think you can come out ahead, if that makes sense. You're welcome. What up, XTY guy? Start Boyd or Scary Terry this week? That's a great question. I like Boyd. I'm playing him in my league of record. I'm playing Scary Terry in my dynasty league of record. I think I'm going Boyd. I'm going Boyd because it's a better offense. It's a more consistent quarterback in Burrow over Heineke. And while Terry is probably a better receiver than Tyler Boyd and would be the number one option, I just have more faith in the Bengals' ability to collect first downs and Burrow to go hit his targets. Boyd will be a focal point of Joe Burrow this week. Scary Terry should be a major focal point for Taylor Heineke, but you just can't guarantee that Washington offense is so inconsistent, and I don't know if they're able to stick their marks at all, and they just might get desperate, and that's not good for a game plan that would have Scary Terry being a focal point of said game plan. Moving back to the news and notes, we've got Hayden Hurst with a groin and ankle injury, keeping him limited on Friday. It's 2 limited practice in a row. Don't love it. But I really do love him with the added opportunity he should get. So as long as he's playing, I'm feeling okay about it, but I really would be looking for contingency plans. And Hayden Hurst is like barely above a streamable tight end for me with Chase being out now. Like he gets a bump up with Chase being out, but it's still like Hayden Hurst. He's not crazy talented. He's not about to be the number 1 or number 2 option on this team. He doesn't have like some long-term narrative with his quarterback. I would keep my eyes open looking elsewhere. Moving on to the Cleveland Browns. You're welcome. Thanks for joining the show. And if you like what you're listening to, do me a favor. Go ahead and hit me with a thumbs up on this one. That's the little thing underneath the video. Hit us one of these. And if you really like what you're listening to and you want to get a little bit more of it, consider subscribing to the Fantasy Whispers here. We do this pretty much every single day. We got action going on Fridays, Sundays, Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and it keeps rinsing and repeating. So we'd love to have you here with us. Moving through the news and notes here. We've got Kareem Hunt popping up. Reports are that teams believe Kareem Hunt is available for a 4th-round pick. He has had not as much opportunity as we've seen in years past. That wouldn't shock me. David Njoku not practicing on Friday. I'd be shocked to see if he actually did play on Sunday. They got their bye coming up relatively soon. So I think he's still going to be expedited. I think he's still going to have a shortened timeline, but I think that it'll be after the bye. A lot of Njoku news. All right, moving on. Dallas Cowboys here. Noah Brown, wide receiver. He's questionable. It's not a question if you should play him. Don't, outside of super deep leagues. Dalton Schultz, he's questionable. He played fairly well while Dak Prescott's been healthy, but he's been hard-pressed to actually stay on the field dealing with his PCL injury. They say here he'll be a tight end 1 with some pass to real upside in week 8, but also has some risk of a low floor if he's bothered by that knee yet again. I want to take a quick peek at see how Dalton Schultz has done in other. Try to take a little refresher. So I'm not really feeling Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz, while he was a top 5 option last year, he played every single game and was a bit of a compiler, if you know what I mean. He caught a lot of targets, caught a lot of passes thrown his way and added the yards up, but he would never really break anything out. Yeah, last week, 5 catches, 5 yards, 49 yards. I think that's kind of more of what we'd expect to see against Chicago. I'm not in love with Dalton Schultz. I think you could find better options probably elsewhere. So keep that in mind. Here, DJ Moore startable this week after the start with PJ last week. And it's fun. I kind of do like the DJ Moore start more than I have all season long. I think PJ has a knack for going to his playmakers. He said that's what he was going to do, and that's what we saw him do. Robbie Anderson's gone. CMC's gone. It's going to be Deonta Foreman and DJ Moore, really. DJ Moore is good enough to do his own work. Almost. I say that there's these wide receivers who just perform really well regardless of who their quarterbacks are. We've seen DeAndre Hopkins do it going back to his Texans days. Like Larry Fitzgerald is the poster child for it. Wide receivers good enough to do their own work. I think DJ Moore is kind of right on that fence. He's very good, but a decent quarterback is going to go a really long way. Keg, what's up, man? Or man, good to have you here. Would you trade Michael Pittman and Kenneth Walker for Cooper Kupp? No, I don't think I would, actually. Cooper Kupp is the best player in this deal. I've said it the last 2 weeks, and all I keep doing is having these points substantiated more and more the more we see out of Kenneth Walker, and that's he is a elite running back right now. He might be the best pure runner in the NFL right now. Kenneth Walker is getting 20-plus carries. He's not getting any pass-catching work, but we haven't seen any back at a lot of pass-catching work the last couple of weeks out of Seattle. If Kenneth Walker gets that pass-catching work, he's going to be the number 1 running back in the NFL, and he will outscore Cooper Kupp. Now, that is a couple of ifs. He needs to catch passes. Even still, if he doesn't, though, he's going to be, I think, an RB1 the rest of the way, barring health. I'm interested to see what Pittman does with Ellinger at quarterback. Pittman's been a little bit underwhelming, but so has this entire Colts offense led by Matt Ryan. If you want to make this deal, I would at least wait because your value should hold in those pieces. Cooper Kupp is also a little bit banged up. Last week or the week before the bye, we had Allen Robinson outscore Kupp for the first time fantasy-wise all season long. I don't think that maintains, but it's just something to keep an eye on. And if Cooper Kupp is a little banged up, if Allen Robinson gets an uptick, and you get a lower game out of Cooper Kupp this week, his value is going to dip, and you might be able to pull off a deal giving up less capital than this, Keg. But it's not horrible. If you really want to do it, if you love Cooper Kupp or something, I'd say go for it. But I think Kenneth Walker is really, really, really good. He's not like a sell high. He's like a ride him to a championship guy for me. So let's see here. Ezekiel Elliott is doubtful week 8. Fire up Tony Pollard. Let's go. Moving on now to the Broncos. Oh, man. Broncos Nation. Hamstring, stretching it out on the plane, doing high knees. Love you, God. He will start week 8 against the Jaguars. Okay, I'm not recommending starting Russell Wilson. I can't say drop Russell Wilson, though. Hope he pulls it together for Broncos fans out there, for fantasy fans out there. There's been talk about Jerry Jeudy being traded. We'll see about that. Keep an eye there. Right. NFL teams asking about KJ Hamler. Is that where we're at with the Broncos right now? Was this Super Bowl favorite a lot of us were pegging on the ship out all your pieces mode now? Is that where we are? Wow. Before we move on here, Keg adding a little extra context. Mahomes, Barkley, ETN, Kenneth, J-Rob. Cool. Wide receivers, Jet, Pittman, Mike Williams, Jacoby Myers, Bateman. I see. So you do benefit from having some wide receiver help, and you're pretty good at running back. You know what I mean? Like Saquon, elite, ETN, turning the corner to RB1 value. I think Kenneth Walker's already there. Yeah, James Robinson is a bit of a, well, we'll see. But he's going to be less fantasy viable moving forward, backing up Michael Carter, presumably in New York now. You love Justin Jefferson there. It'd be nice to have the 1 and 2 wide receivers on your squad, but, value-wise. But running back is such a position that just gets beat up all the time, man. And, I think Pittman is good. And I think Pittman could be even better. So I don't think you have a hole there. You're obviously not standing as tall with Pittman versus Kupp. But I would start these 3 running backs. Saquon, ETN, Kenneth. Put J-Rob on your bench. Wide receivers, Jefferson, Pittman. Jacoby Myers is looking better. You do need some help at receiver, though, because Williams is out. Bateman's concerned with some health spots. But to get Kupp, you're still giving up a healthy wide receiver, and Kupp's a little bit banged up himself. So if it's me personally, Keg, I'm pausing on getting rid of Walker and Pittman for Kupp right now. I'm not pausing on moving on, though, to the next squad. We got the Detroit Lions. All right, here, Detroit Lions. Hawkinson removed from the Week 8 injury report. Love that. He's going to play against the Dolphins. He's been up and down, as all tight ends usually are, but his up is really up, so you like to see that. Amon-Ra St. Brown is questionable. I think he's going to play because that concussion wasn't even a real concussion. Seems like they're kind of playing games. I think that they rushed him back from his ankle early ahead of time, and they shouldn't have done that, but they did. And I think that benefits Amon-Ra the extra time off. So fire up Amon-Ra St. Brown as long as he's active, but there's been some weird question marks. So just stay tuned. We're going to go live 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, an hour and a half before kickoff on Sunday. We'll be touching in on more of these updates here. Moving on to the Packers. Oh, my God, my Green Bay Packers. Such a disappointing start. Christian Watson hamstring is questionable Week 8 against the Bills. I'm glad he's questionable. It's an uptick. I think that Christian Watson is one of the most exciting rookies in the NFL. We just got to have him get healthy and be consistent and polish himself up a little. Matt LaFleur said he was cautiously optimistic Watson will be able to play. Don't start him. I hope they sit him again, but down the road, Christian Watson could be a real piece. Allen Lazard is out. That sucks. Hope he's healthy soon. Sammy Watkins was limited. If Sammy Watkins is active and Lazard is out, Sammy Watkins is going to be like a DFS streamable option for me, as well as Romeo. Of course, Romeo and Tunyon to me, and Allen, not Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones would get the most benefit out of Lazard being down. This whole offense, though, is just suffering, though. This whole offense kind of sucks. All right, moving on here to the Houston Texans. We've got Nico Collins. He is questionable. Not recommending getting him started, though, either way. I wanted to check out one thing on this one. Brandon Cooks, questionable to return. Practiced in full each of the 3 sessions this week, but suddenly popped up on the report, questionable for Sunday. Vibes coming off Cook and the Texans have been weird since Jack Easterby firing. Yeah. I'm kind of steering away from all Houston Texans action outside of Damian Pierce. I do want to look up one thing here. Here. All right, back with you here. Texans news has been digested. Moving on to the Colts, where they're going to be getting a new quarterback behind center. And they were very specific about it. It's like Matt Ryan is banged up and he's out, but we were going with Sam regardless. Scrambling ability, they say, might prove to be a spark this offense desperately needs. This could be good for Pittman, good for Jonathan Taylor, just good for the whole offense, getting more first downs as they move through. Colts confirmed they're benching Matt Ryan for the rest of the season and is not related to a shoulder injury, in case there was any confusion on that. I'm going to pause starting other players like your Jelani Woodses, like your Mo Alley Cox, like these types of guys, until we see a little more about what the rookie quarterbacks got cooking. Not pausing on Jonathan Taylor, though. And if you got to start Michael Pittman, I wouldn't feel bad about it either. He's talented, he's big, and oftentimes we see rookie quarterbacks kind of go to a safety blanket, and I think that Michael Pittman makes for a really logical safety blanket. Going to get to XTY Guy and Carson Crane's questions here in just a moment. Want to work through the news here. You can always hit us with a super chat and get that question addressed right away. Going to keep working through here with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jamal Agnew, been a return specialist for the Jags. He's questionable week 8. Would be a big boost to their special teams if he's healthy enough to give it a go. I like what he's been able to do for T-Law, Trevor Lawrence, a little bit here and there too. It would be a spark, I think, even beyond the special teams. We'll see. Jermichael Hasty is expected to be the number 2 running back now behind Travis Etienne. I don't think we're going to see a lot of action out of Jermichael Hasty, but if you got room to make the speculative ad, might be a piece. We have seen multiple running backs be productive for the Jaguars this year. Could be Hasty's turn. And he did really good work in a couple of games here and there with the 49ers. Like, he's never done it consistently, but he's like a one-cut running back who's got some spark to him. James Robinson, as we know, going to be rocking a new uniform now. Excited to see what that man's journey continues to lay out for us. The Chiefs, they acquired Kadarius Toney. Let's see what they say here. Came after the wideout, and the Giants remained at loggerheads over his health following a Wednesday meeting. Renan does not report the meeting was the sole reason Toney was traded, but it clearly didn't help. He didn't believe his troublesome hamstrings were good, while the Giants evidently wanted to hold him out through their Week 9 bye. The talent is there. Is the commitment there for Kadarius Toney? We will see. Excited to watch this develop. I'm leaning away from the halfbacks in Kansas City. Pacheco is supposed to be the starter. He played 30% of the snaps. It's a real committee over there, as is the wide receiver room. Outside of Kelsey and Mahomes, I don't got any confidence starting any Chiefs players, but there are some streamable people, some dart throws. Your McCole Hardmans, your any running backs, Pacheco's or CEHs, even McKinnon's kind of. Taking a look at the Raiders. Matt Collins is questionable week 8. I still don't feel comfortable starting him in standard type leagues. Hunter Renfrow removed from the week 8 injury report. He's going to play against the Saints. Happy to see that. Derek Carr is dealing with a little bit of a back issue. Removed from the week 8 injury report. He's going to play against the Saints full force. Josh Jacobs' foot was lingering a little bit. He's removed from the week 8 injury report. He is having such a phenomenal season. I love to see it, Josh Jacobs. And you love to see him on your fantasy team if you were one of the few to pick him up in that round 4, 5, 6, whatever. Nicely done. Los Angeles Chargers wide receiver Mike Williams expected to miss at least 4 weeks. Weeks, not days, we're talking. Should probably put him on the IR if that's the case. Stay tuned. Are we getting Keenan Allen back? Hamstring. He's kept him out. He told reporters he didn't play in the second half because the team was trying to limit his snaps in his first game back. It's on a pitch count. Sounds like Keenan Allen is going to be a full go week 9. The Chargers are going to need to lean on him a little bit more with Mike Williams being out. Would you start Keenan Allen this week? I don't love it. I think that he's going to get opportunity, but wide receivers need more than just opportunity. They need the ability to create separation, break away. I'm not totally confident in Keenan Allen right now. Darrell Henderson with the Rams. He's been sick. He's not on the final injury report. That's good. I'd start him in my flex, but temper expectations. We're expecting Van Jefferson, who's back now, to have a normal workload. We expected Allen Robinson to be a fantasy asset also. That hasn't happened yet. Matt Stafford is not himself, and that is having an impact on the other pieces in Los Angeles. Cam Akers, he's not going to play week 8. Doesn't sound like they're going to play him at all, pretty much. Too bad. Moving on now from the Rams to the Miami Dolphins. Tua came back last week. So glad to see it. We got Durham Smythe questionable. He should be playing on your squad. Raheem Mostert, who's been a nice surprise running back for you, not listed on their final injury report either. Love to see that. Jalen Waddle, not listed either. This team is pretty darn healthy. Roll them out. Let's have some fun with Miami Dolphins skill players this week. Moving on now to the Minnesota Vikings, where Irv Smith caught all his targets last week, and that's all the news that we got. So no news is good news. Glad to see Dalvin Cook's shoulder hasn't re-aggravated. Taking a look now at the Patriots, Kendrick Bourne, he's questionable week 8 against the Jets. Nelson Aguilar is questionable against the Jets. I'd really fade all of these pass catching options. You know, Aguilar, Parker, Jacoby, all these guys are streamable dart throws for me, but I'm not recommending any of them with confidence. The only guy I've got confidence in right now is Ramondre Stevenson for the New England Patriots. New Orleans Saints are dealing with some question marks of their own. Juwan Johnson caught a couple tutties last week. He's questionable this week. Not recommending starting him, though. You could go worse. You could get worse, though, at the tight end position. Streamable type of guy with touchdown upside. Adam Troutman's questionable week 8. Did return to limited practice for the first time since injuring that ankle in week 6. It'd be a little surprising if he gutted it out from just the one practice, but wouldn't be a major upset or anything. This would put a little bit of a damper on Juwan Johnson. Michael Thomas, he's not going to play, and there's no timeline. Jarvis Landry, he's not going to play either. Sounds like this has been lingering. Mike Florio reports the Eagles are not interested in trading for Alvin Kamara before the NFL's November 1 trade deadline. Okay. This has been popping up a little bit. We'll see if Kamara gets any action ahead of time. Given his legal troubles and whatnot, I'd be a little surprised, but the NFL is a surprising league. I am happy, though, to see Kamara not dealing with any additional rib injuries or setbacks. He's got 10 days of rest because they played on Thursday last week, and he had a full workload and nothing reported negative. So I think Alvin Kamara is in line to have his best week of the year on Sunday. Moving on to the New York Football Giants. Kenny Galladay is not going to play week 8. Kadarius Toney's gone. Who are their wide receivers anymore? Jerry Jeudy, reportedly, the Giants have interest in him. More to pay attention to down the road. We're not seeing any news out of camp either here. So, oh, wait. Daniel Bellinger is going to undergo surgery, repair a fractured eye socket. That's too bad. Hopefully this isn't season ending. Went down there on Sunday's win against the Jaguars. Had an increased role over the last several weeks. So I guess he's going to be out for a little bit. And Wan'Dale Robinson, 8 targets, 6 catches, 50 yards against the Jaguars. I think he is probably going to be that number 1 option now with the upside for the Giants. Moving on now to our next New York team, Jets, who got a new running back in James Robinson. I'm not starting him this week. Robert Saleh, head coach, said we'll see how he does today and tomorrow. When asked if James Robinson will play on Sunday, they're going to take it slow. They said he's also banged up a little bit, so I'm not starting James Robinson. I would start Michael Carter, though, who head coach LaFleur said, or not head coach, excuse me, offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur said the Jets would use the hot hand approach with their running back room. Michael Carter is going to be the lead dog. I feel good about him in most formats. Corey Davis didn't practice on Thursday. He's dealing with a sprained MCL. He seems unlikely to suit up in week 8. Elijah Moore has been having some temperamental issues going on. Sounds like he's going to get some action, though, out of the slot after missing last week, after being kept out from whatever excuse they gave us. I'm starting to like George Pickens, not George Pickens, Garrett Wilson, excuse me, out of New York Rookie wide receiver started off really strong with Flacco. Wilson's been in there. The Jets offense has been essentially trying to mask Wilson, which makes sense. But if Wilson can level up and actually get some offense going, which they're going to look to him to do, given Breece Hall, who's been tilting the outcomes for him, is now done, they're going to need Wilson to step up. And I think the Wilson to Wilson connection is one that makes a lot of sense. Let's see about the Philadelphia Eagles. What news did they got for us? They got nothing. All the way back to October 17th was their last update. No news is good news. Excited to see what they do rest of the season. Pittsburgh Steelers, Pat Freiermuth is not on the injury report. Week 8 to wrap it out. Very happy to see. He's an easy tight end one in redraft leagues, they say this week. There we go. I'm firing him up in a couple of leagues myself. No updates on Deontay Johnson, who came back after that injury. No updates to any other players. I'm taking no news as good news. Moving on to the 49ers. Jeff Wilson is a trade candidate. 49ers are willing to list a potential offers for Jeff Wilson. That makes sense. They just picked up CMC. Elijah Moore should be coming back at some point, you think. And if they could get any value out of Jeff Wilson, why not? Juwan Jennings is questionable for the 49ers. He should not be questionable for you. Don't play him. Deebo Samuel, he's going to be out this week. Hamstring is keeping him away. Uptick for Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle, presumably. Running over here now to the Seattle Seahawks. DK Metcalf, questionable. Be a surprise for him to play this week. Stay tuned. I'm not starting him, though, even if he's active on Sunday. Tyler Lockett's been dealing with some hamstring and rib issues. He's questionable week 8 against the Giants. Lockett will be a risky wide receiver, too, if he suits up. I would, lean away. I'd go another direction if you can. If you have to go Tyler Lockett's your way, if you're looking at like a wide receiver 5 or something as an alternate, just pay attention because he is a true questionable this week. Tennessee Titans. I know that Ryan Tannehill was iffy. Still is. Ryan Tannehill is questionable week 8 against the Texans. He only practiced a bit on Thursday and took none of the reps. Head coach Mike Vrabel told reporters that the Titans will give him as much time as they can before making a decision. Doesn't sound optimistic. So have contingency plans if you're in like a 2-quarterback league or something like that, or a deep league with Ryan Tannehill as your starter. We'll be excited to see what Malik Willis is able to do given the opportunity. He's pretty good. At least has shown upside. I'm not seeing any other real notable bits of news out of Tennessee. So we'll move on to our final team, the Washington Commanders. Had some trade conversations a little bit about Antonio Gibson. We'll see if there's any updates there. Jamie Brown is questionable week 8 against the Colts. Been dealing with a groin issue. He appears to be on track to play after practicing on a limited basis all week. I'm not going to be playing Brown, though. Although, wait, are they? Thoroughly owning rival Amon-Ra St. Brown in a fantasy points over the last 4 games. Please do not look up why. Just enjoy the vibes. I like that they write that here. Yeah, just enjoy the vibes if you're riding that. Logan Thomas, he's dealing with a calf. He's questionable week 8. Practiced all week, albeit limited. Probably closer to probable than questionable. I'd like to see what he's able to do being active with Tyler Heineke before actually starting him, but another active player recovering is a good thing. Ron Rivera said the team would not trade Antonio Gibson before the NFL's November 1 trade deadline. Said their running back room is a very good place right now. All right. No, you do you, boo. Looking now over to the rest of our questions. Let's see. XTY guy, rate the 10-man team. Herb, Justin Herbert, Jonathan Taylor, Joe Mixon, Amon-Ra St. Brown, T. Higgins, Tyler Higbee, Kenneth Walker, Mostert, Swift, Jacoby Myers, and Hollywood Brown. You couldn't have put these all in positional categories for me. No, I'm just giving you a hard time. Justin Herbert, a little bit disappointing, man. He's not an elite quarterback this year, and Mike Williams is down. Keenan Allen has been down. I'm looking for a little bit of help at the quarterbacking position. Love your running backs here. Kenneth Walker, Jonathan Taylor, Joe Mixon. That's phenomenal. You've got nice wide receivers. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tyler Higbee, or T. Higgins, and then Higbee at tight end. Mostert, Swift, Jacoby. This is a solid B team in a 10-person. This is a good B squad. 2-year quarterback right now with Urban By. I gotcha. I hope we can see Tua return to early season form. He was just crushing it. What's up, Carson? Crane, DJ Moore, Adam Thielen, or Metcalf if he plays. Full point PPR. I'm going DJ Moore with PJ throwing the ball. I'm going in this order, actually. What's up, Andre? Start Kyle Pitts, Dawson Knox, or Dalton Schultz. Half point PPR. I'm going Kyle Pitts. And then Dawson Knox. It's close. If you want to go Knox over Pitts, I get it. I just think that the Falcons need to win. Pitts is probably their best playmaker. Arthur Smith wants to keep his job. His stubbornness can only last so long. Kyle Pitts' hamstring should be healthy. I'm telling this to myself as I'm going to start him in my league of record. Yeah. I'm going to start Kyle Pitts this week. Cheers. What's up, McCurley Wolf? Trade Kamara for Jonathan Taylor. PPR redraft. Yeah. You can do this. I like this. Kamara, I think, is on an uptick, but JT should be back. He's maybe the best running back in the NFL, top 5 for sure. I think you might have just gotten to burn all the downtime with JT and get him over your team. I would be fine acquiring JT for Alvin Kamara on this one. Well, that's it, folks. We are through our news and notes around the NFL. We are through everybody's questions here. Thanks for spending your Friday early evening here with me. If you like what you've been listening to, hit the show with a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you can get the notifications when we go live. Our next show will be 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, where we will be going over lineup questions and covering any news and helping you work through any last-minute tinkerings before action kicks off on Sunday morning. I'm Austin Sear. On behalf of Johnny Game Time Hicks, Donnie Tubbs, Big Travie, we are the Fantasy Whispers. Catch you on Sunday. We're out of here. Peace.
Right here.
Look at you go. You made it to the end of another one of our videos. Hey, if you still have some questions, I totally understand. Or you just want to join an awesome fantasy football community, head on over to our Discord chat. Link is in the description below. And if you're still not sold on us, check out one of these videos.